Of NPR and PBS testified before Congress this week amid accusations of liberal bias. Should the government continue to send taxpayer dollars to public broadcasters? Well, a little background here. I mean, they've been after them the Republicans have wanted to get rid of PBS for as long as I can remember. This crowd will probably do it. I mean, I also read my namesake, Catherine Maher, was head of NPR, and she said, "We're completely unbiased. Give me a break, lady." I mean, they're crazy far left.
Bill Maher just went head-to-head with liberal professor John McCarter, and things got heated in a hurry. Maher didn't hold back. It was clear he came prepared and wasn't in the mood to play nice. He dismantled McCarter's arguments one by one, leaving no room for spin or double talk. It wasn't just a debate, it was a takedown. If you enjoy real, unfiltered political clashes where the truth cuts through the noise, make sure you're subscribed.
John, you work at Columbia University.
I do.
Speaking of clown cars.
I should say that I have been on a blissful sabbatical for the entire year.
Lucky you.
I only know so much, but go ahead.
All right. Well, I mean, starting last week, Trump is going to war now on elite universities. Now, I cannot be a hypocrite. I went through my book that came out last year. It'll be out in paperback very soon. I can't be a hypocrite. I wrote down some of the things that I've said over the past that were gathered in the book. Don't go to an elite college. It makes you stupid. Elite universities are the mouth of the river from which manner all radical left illiberal, yes, illiberal nonsense flows. They're four-year daycare centers for the cry bullies of the privileged to complain about privilege. College today is not the college you remember. It's a day spa and a North Korean re-education camp put together.
As soon as the segment kicked off, he went full throttle, tearing into America's top colleges for what he sees as a full-on surrender to woke culture. He called out elite schools, especially the Ivies, for pushing pronoun politics, identity, confusion, and a wave of activism that rewrites history instead of teaching it. Maher slammed them for backing anti-Israel protests and turning classrooms into political war zones. According to him, these aren't just schools that went along with the trend, they led the charge. From claiming men can become women to putting biological males in women's sports. Maher argued they've crossed the line in the name of progress. He also didn't hold back on the money side of things, blasting these institutions for charging six figures in tuition while teaching that facts are oppressive. This wasn't just a critique, it was a long overdue reckoning. Maher was laser-focused and relentless, and this time, higher education was squarely in his CROSSAIRS.
They're asshole factories. If ignorance is a disease, Harvard yard is the Wuhan wet market. Okay, so that's where I am. I can't, but I get the inclination, but as with most things now with this new administration, the way they do it, you can't do it by taking people off the street just because they wrote an op-ed pro-Palestinian. I'm not pro-Palestinian the way they see it either, but, these people who are just disappeared because they have a tattoo. I'm so glad I don't have a tattoo.
Let's clear something up. Those students weren't arrested just for anti-Semitism. They were arrested for breaking the law. Protesting is fine, but when it turns into vandalism, trespassing, or threats, that's where free speech ends and legal consequences begin. Now, the real problem: woke professors. These aren't neutral educators. They're pushing agendas, downplaying terrorism, and feeding anti-Israel views as if they're fact. No wonder students are coming out of college more divided and misinformed than ever. This didn't happen by accident. It was taught. All right, roll the clip.
The kind of student you're talking about, in my experience, is a minority of the students. I don't see the whole campus as this, but there is a problem. I mean, frankly, Columbia has tried, for example, this year, to eradicate or at least dampen anti-Semitism. I mean, Manoush Shafiq did get 100 students arrested. You now cannot get onto the campus without a card, which is in order to protect especially Jewish students from having to listen to anti-Semitic protests all day long. The 3 administrators who were nakedly anti-Semitic in their texts were justifiably fired. But the thing is, I don't think this is really about anti-Semitism.
To his credit, McCarter did say that anti-Semitism has no place on campus and that Israeli students deserve to feel safe. That's a rare moment of clarity from someone who usually dances around woke narratives. And yes, it's good to see schools like Columbia finally taking action to protect Jewish students, long overdue, but necessary. But let's be real, McCarter's claim that it's just a few bad apples causing trouble, that doesn't hold up. The videos don't lie, the chants, the threats, the encampments weren't led by a small group. Thousands have marched with signs calling for Israel's destruction. Jewish students have been harassed, faculty targeted, buildings blocked. This isn't isolated, it's organized, and it's dangerous.
The panel think of Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett calling Texas governor, okay, she's from Texas, the governor, Greg Abbott, who is paralyzed and uses a wheelchair. She called him Governor Hot Wheels.
Before we jump into the showdown between Bill Maher and John McCarter, I need to point something out. It's incredibly hypocritical to see Jasmine Crockett, someone who constantly plays the identity politics game, making fun of someone's disability. These are the same folks who cry ableism over the smallest joke, yet suddenly go quiet when one of their own crosses the line. When Crockett took a cheap shot at Texas Governor Greg Abbott's condition, it wasn't just in bad taste, it exposed the double standard. The so-called moral high ground collapses the moment it's no longer politically useful. Her comments weren't just offensive, they showed how fake and selective this so-called compassion really is.
Congressperson Crockett is part of the new trend where informality is okay, where formality used to reign. Okay, fine. That's been going on since the 60s. So her routine is that she wants to bring a little bit of what I might quaintly call the ghetto cat fight into these spaces. I get it, you know, bring a blaxploitation movie or something into Congress. Great, work it. But you do not make fun of the fact that somebody lives their life in a wheelchair. That doesn't work.
Crockett mocking Governor Abbott's disability is a deal breaker. Not because I'm defending Abbott, but because it exposes the double standard. She and her allies preach empathy and inclusion until it's someone they don't like. Then the rules go out the window. And where was the outrage from Democrats? Pure hypocrisy. Now, get ready, Bill Maher's take flips the whole thing on its head.
I'm really not. You know why? Because I'm a big fan of Family Guy. And they have... Am I wrong? Every week. I mean, one of the characters, Joe the cop, is in a wheelchair, and every week there's 20 jokes about him being in a wheelchair, and nobody died. And like, I just think everybody has to, like, lighten up a little. Yeah, it's terrible to be in a wheelchair, but, you know, it's not like it's news to him. I don't know.
Is where Bill Maher really stirred the pot. His blunt, almost dismissive response clearly shook McCarter, who looked genuinely thrown off, like Maher had ditched logic altogether. And honestly, I get where McCarter was coming from. His reaction wasn't out of nowhere. It's whether Maher was being performative or truly indifferent, it raised valid concerns. Because if we take his words at face value, it reveals something bigger. We can't put blind trust in media personalities. Maher may have been trying to provoke, but in doing so, he reminded us the loudest voice isn't always the smartest. Blind loyalty to any pundit. That's how real thinking stops.
Or Family Guy. I've seen every episode. But that wasn't a cartoon. This is real life. And she was saying it with dismissive hostility as opposed to the cartoonish, we can get away with it because we're drawn. Jasmine Crockett is not drawn. And neither is Abbott. I see a distinction, although I see what you mean.
Okay, all right.
Where it's due. McCarter held his ground and pushed back hard, and he made a valid point. Sure, Cartoons are just drawings, but let's not pretend they're harmless. They often exaggerate stereotypes and send messages that land like real punches. Cartoons might not feel anything, but the people they target definitely do. Brushing it off as just a joke is a lazy excuse. A lot of this so-called humor is degrading, disrespectful, and flat-out dehumanizing. It reinforces bias and gives others permission to spread the same ideas, just with a laugh attached. Bottom line, words and images carry weight. What we choose to laugh at says a lot about what we're willing to accept. And in too many cases, the people being mocked are the ones left carrying the pain. Maher seemed to get the hint. He changed the subject real quick.
The heads of NPR and PBS testified before Congress this week amid accusations of liberal bias. Should the government continue to send taxpayer dollars to public broadcasters? Well, a little background here. I mean, they've been after them for, the Republicans have wanted to get rid of PBS for as long as I can remember. This crowd will probably do it. I mean, I also read my namesake, Catherine Maher, was head of NPR, and you know, she said, "We're completely unbiased. Give me a break, lady." I mean, they're crazy far left.
CENPR and PBS have clearly picked a side, and it's not neutrality. From lobbying for Biden-era policies to pushing favorable coverage, media shouldn't act like mouthpieces for any party. If NPR and PBS want to push an agenda, they should do it without public money. Privatization is the only way to remove the bias and restore trust. That's all for today. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. See you next time.